Yosef is one of the really main characters in the Torah. Unbelievable, his own personal story. He's a symbol of righteousness, a symbol of faith, a symbol of success, a symbol of ultimate humility, a symbol of someone who recognizes he's in God's world on the highest of levels, and we're going to talk about this a lot. Unbelievable personality, unbelievable person. We can make him much, much larger than life and lose the opportunity to learn from him and apply it to our own lives, because we might think that such a giant, and who are we compared to that? What does his life have to do with our life? But we have to know that everything about Yosef exists within us. He's one of those unique biblical personalities that represent the totality of the Jewish people, and each one of us in a specific way have a connection to him and must connect and bring out that potential of Yosef within us in a spiritual sense, and it has to manifest in our actual life accomplishments, Bezrat Hashem. So let's learn an unbelievable lesson about Yosef, and hopefully we'll see how we can apply it. So the famous, not famous, but basically the beginning of where the story gets interesting in Egypt, once Yosef is in Egypt, is when he starts to become a dream interpreter. Clearly, interpreting dreams has to do with tapping into higher dimensions of reality than the physical one that we're used to. I mean, we have a sense of smell, we can hear things that we don't physically see, but to tap into a realm of dream and perceive what message that dream may contain within it is clearly a power that is so spiritual and so lofty that it's beyond the average person. So here we see really the beginning of Yosef's true greatness start to express itself in his ability to interpret the dreams of the two ministers of Paro. There are two people in jail with Yosef, and these are two prominent people, important people, two ministers in Paro's kingdom. One person's in charge of the wine, and the other person's in charge of the bread that Paro eats, which may entail more than just bread. So they're called in Hebrew the Saha Mashkin, the minister of wine, and the Saha Ofim, it's the minister of his bread, which means really, I think, his food. Now, they both are really downtrodden, very upset and sad in jail. Now, one would think, so what? That's the right attitude in jail. Many people are sad in jail, but we must understand that they were very sad, and meaning their spirits were worse than when they got there in such a dramatic way that Yosef took notice. Now, there's an unbelievable lesson we're going to take now from Yosef, an unbelievable lesson, that we all have to really think twice about how we live our lives and how we allow the negative experiences in our lives affect us and how much we allow it to detract from our ability to be there for others. So let's take a look at this for a minute. Yosef HaTzadik is himself an innocent man, falsely accused and convicted to a life sentence in prison. The real penalty was death. But because he was such a great person and he did so much for his master, his boss, so to speak, so they didn't kill him, and possibly included in that is because they knew he was innocent, but they had to put him in jail to save face. So they didn't kill him, but they left him alive, but it would be a life sentence in prison for something that was a lie. And they understood it was a lie. Potiphar, his master, knew Yosef, knew his values, knew his type of person he was. And so on some level, he had to know that it wasn't true. But an accusation from his wife, such noble people in Egypt, if you don't do something about it, then it blemishes her and him as immoral people, as she was. She was someone that was chasing after Yosef, threatening him if he wouldn't concede to her wishes to be intimate with her. And so it's a very twisted story. It sounds like one of those like soap operas that people watch it, when they're busy, they're at home, they got nothing to do, so they get, drawn into these soap operas which drag out all of the most perverted, really sick type of lifestyles that they end up glamorizing. So here we have Potiphar and his wife, and so they're stuck in that if they don't put him in jail at least, so then it'll expose how his wife was not loyal to him and really, someone that betrayed her husband. And so in order to kind of cancel that, they put him in jail. And that's one dimension of the story. Now Yosef can be very upset, can be very angry. He's in a dark place and he's been mistreated after he gave so much to people. They betrayed him, they turned on him, and they put him in jail. He could be so overwhelmed and so involved in his own misery, where does he find time for other people's misery? You know, like, you're miserable? Come back in 10 years when I'm still working on getting over my own issues. I don't have time for your issues. Yet we see Yosef unbelievably able to notice the feelings and the well-being of other people in jail that he didn't even know, not related to, not even from the same country. And he notices that they're upset, and it bothered him enough that he reached out to them. It's not even that they came to him. He reached out to them to try and help. And so we see an unbelievable lesson, first lesson for us. No matter how tough your situation is, if you're able to somehow be resilient and recognize that everything in your life ultimately is coming from Hashem, which is he certainly realized, despite its difficulties. We're not saying to ignore its difficulties, but the idea that Hashem has not abandoned you and you're not alone will give you an inner strength to kind of like not give up on yourself in the situation. And then that opens you up now to have a potential to even be considerate of what you can do to help others. While you're in your own suffering, you can still think about what you can do to help others. Now, ironically, his decision to help them becomes a catalyst to help himself. And we have to look deeper. Hashem brought them there, perhaps as a test for Yosef. Passing that test, they became a catalyst for his actual ultimate redemption from these false accusations to freedom.